Israeli academics right now, they are poring over newly declassified minutes of cabinet meetings in the months after the 1967 Six-Day War. Generally speaking, these newly declassified documents reveal that government ministers even then did not expect such a decisive and sweeping victory with such massive land gains, and they were at a loss to deal with the implications. Israel conquered the East Jerusalem, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, the Golan Heights, the Sinai Peninsula, all in under a week, and they suddenly found themselves ruling over more than 600,000 Arabs. Then Prime Minister Levi Eshkol said that dealing with the Arabs of the occupied West Bank was not a priority. It was a decision that could wait at least 20 years. Transportation Minister Moshe Carmel agreed, saying that after 20 years, the world would get used to Israel being in the West Bank, and it would support the Israeli case to stay permanently. Sir, obviously, given your background and given the fact that your uncle, Moshe Dayan, was a prominent role in the 1967 war, served as defense minister then, do you think the decision, which turned out to be quite a historic one, not to return the West Bank immediately, as some ministers were calling for, as David Ben-Gurion was pressing for, was that a mistake? Should the West Bank have been returned and not held on to?
Look, that took place, more than 40 years ago. I will return to your question about the strategy that Israel is to adopt today. But let me just tell you, I was a young warrior, 18, 19 years old those days, and I remember not only the 6th day of war, I was in Sinai Desert and later on in the Golan Heights, but I remember more than everything the 1 month before the war, in which all the Israelis feel an existential threat. This was a real one, and then came the war, and like a miracle, we got a kind of a strategic asset. The Sinai Desert, we beat 3 Arab countries in the same time, and won the Sinai Desert, the Judah and Samaria, the West Bank, and the Golan Heights. So now 40 years has passed. There is a new regional war in the Middle East in which we are actually try as much as not to be involved in it. And in these 40 years, what we did, we kind of trade Sinai Desert for a strategic asset, a peace agreement with Egypt. We annexed the Golan Heights, and we were lucky to do it in the right moment. Imagine yourself that today we were sitting, the Syrians and the Iranians and the ISIS and the Hezbollah and Jabhat al-Nusra, and everybody was sitting on the Sea of Galilee on the Jordan River. So we were lucky to do it in the right time. And the only open question right now is the Palestinians. Actually, 40 years ago, they didn't call themselves Palestinians, they were Jordanians. But the Palestinians today and the defensible border, I think that what is the most important issue today is to make clear that Israel needs the Jordan River, the Jordan Valley to be its eastern defensible borders. Why so? Because we don't want to rule the Palestinians, but if we want our children to live in a Jewish democratic state, we have to disengage from the Palestinians, but in the same time, we want them to live in a Jewish democratic state. So we need our security, and our security today strategically, it's to decide not only about Jerusalem and all this important issue, but that our eastern border is the Jordan Valley.